Mercedes is entering a new post-Hamilton era from 2025 onwards, and it looks like their hopes for Antonelli being the next Verstappen are going to be put to the test from day one. Of course, it's inevitable that these two are going to go into a direct shootout quite often because both have a lot to prove to the Formula One world. But with Russell not really receiving the leadership role in the manner that he wanted, could we see a shakeup in Mercedes' roles sooner rather than later? One of the most popular drivers in 2025 is definitely going to be Kimi Antonelli. And although there are early hints that Mercedes could move towards the 2026 car much earlier than anticipated, given the gap to the top three teams, it doesn't mean a battle between these two won't happen. Quite the contrary, in fact. There have been beliefs among the F1 fans and experts that Antonelli is going to pose a much more serious threat than we could have anticipated because of his youth and the fact that there is a lot of hope invested in him being the next Verstappen. According to Wolff himself, one of the people who believes that Russell will have a hard time defending against Antonelli is Helmut Marko. And although you could say that his statements are made just for the sake of stirring up drama where it's not needed, he is not the only one predicting close and sparking in-team fights at Mercedes. When talking about it, the veteran Austrian said, "We saw Antonelli's talent at Monza. Although I don't understand why they put him in the car on that circuit, he was very fast on his first 3 laps. But on the 4th lap, he went into the barriers. I think if he uses his skills well, which he has, he can be a danger to Russell. Antonelli is a risk, but we also took that risk with Verstappen in the past. Max was very young when he got into the car, but in his case, he wasn't in a top team. He debuted with Toro Rosso, so he had less pressure. Of course, this is something that needs to be put into proper context because Antonelli is hopping straight into the Mercedes seat. Not even Russell got this privilege, as he spent 3 years in a Williams car. On top of that, Russell won an F2 championship before he was promoted to Formula One, and it's obvious that he had a thorny road to a Mercedes seat. Despite all that, it took Hamilton's resignation for Russell to be declared the leader of the team, and the statements from Wolff regarding Antonelli did not help his case at all, as they put a lot of pressure to further prove that he is the next champion for Mercedes. Not an 18-year-old kid yet to finish his first F2 season. Nevertheless, Antonelli won't have it easy because there will be a lot of pressure on his shoulders too. If we are going to go to a greater extent, he won't be perceived as a normal rookie because he's driven F1 machinery in his career, and the feedback from the high-profile engineers was nothing short of amazing. What this goes to show is that Antonelli would be expected to perform from day one and be close to Russell, even though Wolff tried to dampen the expectations and focus on 2026 and the new regulations instead of the 2025 in-team battle between these two. Karun Chandok from Sky Sports F1 has spoken about Antonelli, and he believes that if something were to go horribly wrong with Kimi, he wouldn't have the luxury of excuses and would have nowhere to hide, in part because of Russell's 2015 campaign and the constant comparisons being made. Elaborating further on this, Karun said, "I think whether you're driving for the team that's finished 10th in the championship or the team at the front of the grid, as a rookie in F1, there's nowhere to hide for Kimi Antonelli. The fact that he is coming in as a rookie, but with a top team, means that you're expected to deliver, as Lewis was when he arrived at McLaren and got 9 podiums straight off the bat. As Oscar Piastri has shown in the last 2 years, the expectations on rookies are high. You can't just be there saying, 'Oh, I'm here to learn' anymore." That excuse has gone with the likes of Verstappen, Lando Norris, Russell, and Lewis before that. These rookies have just raised the bar of expectation. Of course, 2025 is not expected to be the year of Mercedes because of their lack of performance throughout the past couple of years. Given how much hope they have under the newly regulated era, it's safe to assume that they will focus much earlier on 2026 than we could anticipate. We are talking about the team with one of the most successful engine manufacturing histories in the sport, apart from Ferrari. So, to believe that they're just going to go all in throughout the current campaign to prove something that is quite well impossible is just a very far-fetched scenario. Wolff himself stated that Antonelli and Russell will try to learn as much as they can in 2026. However, he put a specific statement about the young Italian in which he shredded the hope that he could compete with Verstappen in a similar fashion that Helmut Marko did for Liam Lawson and the expected duel with Verstappen. When talking about this, Wolff said, "If you expect Antonelli to be on pole position in Melbourne, win the race, and immediately compete for the championship, then the risk is high because that won't happen. If we take into account that he is only 18 years old, very talented, but he needs to grow and make mistakes first, the risk is smaller. We see 2025 as a transitional year and want to prepare him for 2026 when everything will start from scratch for everyone. The combination we have is a great one. The experienced George and the young Kimi, who has a lot of raw speed but still has a lot to learn. Kimi won't be on pole and winning in Melbourne straight away. He will develop over the year and make mistakes. That's just part of it. But he will also deliver very good performances, and there is no question about it. Russell's performance is going to be put under a great test as well, because out-qualifying Hamilton 19-5 is not a small achievement. And now you have a rookie that is eager to prove that it was the car and the test done on it rather than the driver getting old. Of course, these things are debatable, and we don't want to take credit from Russell for doing something that was done just a couple of times in Hamilton's long-lasting career. However, the talks from Mercedes and Hamilton regarding the last-minute setup changes are just too much to ignore. Both of the current Mercedes drivers are starting from a blank sheet, and they will know one thing for sure. They are here to compete and to prove to their team that they have what it takes to be the next champion after Hamilton. The 2016 winner of the title, Nico Rosberg, believes that the inter-team battle is something that cannot be avoided and might remind Mercedes of their golden days back from 2014 to 2016 when there were two highly competitive drivers for the team. It ended when he won the championship on his third try against Hamilton and then decided to retire from the sport. When talking about the expected sparks in Mercedes, Rosberg said, "George Russell is not safe at all because Toto still wants Max, and he will try again for 2026 because give up does not appear in Toto's vocabulary. If Max does become available, and I do think that is a possibility, then it is a shootout for the seat between George and Kimi next year. It's a lot of pressure on George because he really has everything to lose next year. He should be the one ahead in terms because Kimi is 18 and he's completely new and in a full pressure situation. It's not an easy one for Russell. Of course, talks about Vettel joining Mercedes have simmered down ever since, and everyone is focused on their own campaign. But if the four-time world champion were to become available in the foreseeable future, make no mistake that Mercedes would be right there to bid for his services. Yes, they would have great competition in Aston Martin, but if you think about it, the reputation of Mercedes, as well as the brand they'll offer him, is something that he might find too hard to deny, especially with the new regulations knocking on the door. With all this in mind, what do you think about the 2025 rivalry between Russell and Antonelli? And more importantly, who do you think would prevail as victorious in the days that are awaiting us? Let us know in the comments below. If you're interested in the Ferrari shootout between Hamilton and Leclerc, as well as the trouble that the Monegasque driver might find himself in, make sure to check out the video appearing on your screen right now.